Is this, oh, it is on. Is it too loud?
A bit.
Hold away. Like that? Better? Okay. So I want to begin by asking you to hold in your mind something that you are not grateful for. Something that is in your life right now that is a cause of resentment or hurt, anger or upset. Just ask you to think of something that you find it difficult to feel gratitude for. There is an ancient story of a farmer whose only horse ran away. And the neighbors came and said, "Oh, surely this is a terrible thing to have happened to you. You're not going to be able to plow your fields and do the work. This is a terrible, terrible thing." And the farmer said, "Maybe yes, maybe no." The next day, the horse came back, and it brought with it 6 wild horses. And the neighbors said, "Wow, what bounty you have. You're a rich man now. Surely this is a great fortune for you." And this farmer said, "Maybe yes, maybe no." A few days later, the farmer's son tried to saddle one of the horses and ride it, and fell and broke his leg. The neighbors said, "Oh my gosh, what are you going to do now? You don't have any help on the farm? You're surely going to lose everything, because this is way more work than one person can do without your son to help you." It's surely a terrible thing. The farmer said, "Maybe yes, maybe no." Right? And the next day, conscription officers came to the village and pulled every young man into the army. And of course, the farmer's son, because of his broken leg, was not accepted into the army. And the neighbors said, "Great fortune for you. You must be very lucky, because very few of our young men that go to war will come back. So you're greatly favored here." And the farmer said, "Maybe yes, maybe no." I think this illustrates that we often don't see the big picture until much later, if ever. We don't take the opportunity, we don't have the opportunity to see the things that happen in our lives in a fuller way and see them from many different angles. When my father died, my mother became very depressed and often said, "My life is over." My sister and I have quite vivid memories of the day she called us to say she had cancer. And both of us reacted like, did she sound like she was happy about that? Yes, she did. And it got me thinking about the way we perceive the things in our lives. And I was a social worker in a hospital at the time, and so I began to look at patients and talk to them about their illnesses and their accidents and their tragedies, and what possible benefits and learning and goodness could be in that mix of things. And it turns out that in many of these situations, there is learning and growth to be had. I think gratitude is kind of in right now. I don't know about your Facebook feed, but mine, every other person is challenging someone to find something to be grateful for every day. And most of these things are, good health and a good family and space to read and rest and a job that one enjoys. And I think it's easy to feel grateful for those things. For me, I look at the challenge of feeling gratitude when our lives have some adversity, when there is something that's not quite right, when someone's ill, when the job isn't one you enjoy, when you have trouble in your family or your marriage. And we all have these stories. We all have chapters in our lives where there's rough patches. And if we can look at them in a different way, instead of just as a rough patch of negativity, I think they are very much fuel for growth and learning about who we are, sort of uncovering that, and learning to be better, learning to be more wise, figuring out an opportunity and a lesson. In 1986, I was divorced. I got a divorce. First one in my family to ever do that. And I remember sitting on the kitchen floor just bawling. And I was devastated. It was a terrible mistake I had made. I was a failure. And my world was basically upside down. Nothing was right for me. At the time, I couldn't see any benefit to that. But I've learned over the years that that was probably my greatest opportunity for learning. My mother raised me with the sort of platitude that one day you will find a man and he will complete you. I found him, I married him. What's the matter? And, you know, I realized in hindsight that I had asked him to do something that was impossible. And, of course, it failed. The learning for me was, and it didn't happen overnight, believe me, it took a while, but I am the one to complete myself. And that was my mother's story. My story is different. I must complete myself. And now I have a wonderful marriage with a wonderful man because I am a complete person that I can offer him. I'm not asking him to give me anything that he can't give. I think, you know, in a way it's sort of like seeing a silver lining, but it's more than that. It is being willing to sit with the things that are uncomfortable, unfamiliar and uncomfortable. We all want to fill our lives with good things, to think about the positive things and focus on those. But I think it is these places where we stumble that show real treasure for us and have an opportunity to go beyond safety and comfort and then go to look at our full spectrum of humanity. Our world doesn't really encourage us to look at things that are negative. We don't often have the time or are encouraged to do that. A lot of times if you post on Facebook about something wonderful that happens, you get 105 likes, right? If you post that you're depressed, people will say, oh, look at the bright side. Oh, don't focus on that. Focus on all the things that you have that are going right in your life. But I think we need to stop and pay attention to the things that are going wrong, the things that are uncomfortable for us. One of my favorite quotes is a Joseph Campbell one that says, where you stumble, there's your treasure. All of the places in our lives where we stumble, if we stop and just be with the stumbling, look at the stumbling, ask ourselves, what am I being asked to see or learn or grow through in this time? That very possibly we may find something. Now, not all the time, and not right away. Sometimes it's easy to see that right away, and sometimes it may take years. And for some things, you know, like what's going on in the universe? What are we supposed to learn from genocide and war and fires in California? Sometimes it's really hard, but not all the time. So some examples are things like stress. A lot of undue stress over a long period of time is definitely harmful, but normal stress is a good thing in our lives. It keeps us moving, it motivates us, it gives us a boost to our immune system and our mental clarity. Sometimes I like procrastinate and I need that stress of the last minute to actually get something done, right? And you know, researchers have found that our attitude has something to do with it. If we think of stress as negative or something is negative, it will be negative. But if we think of it in a positive way, we'll get some of the benefits from positivity. So, as weird as it sounds, stress is something that we can learn to be thankful for in our lives. Another one is uncertainty about the future. A lot of people have difficulty with uncertainty and feeling grateful for it. They want to know what's going to happen. They want closure and comfort and familiarity. But do we really want a world where we know exactly what's going to happen? Do we really want that certainty all the time? Personally, I'd rather have the excitement of adventure and newness. Adversity and problems, they are many times pushing us to learn something new, to reach greater heights of wisdom. The only people who don't experience adversity are the ones who are standing still, right? I think it's almost like being tested. Adversity is almost like being tested gold in fire. And I look at our politics today, and you know, if you look back in our system of social progress, we make progress, and then there's this upheaval to balance it of like, women rise to vote, and it's like, no, we don't want that to happen. And you know, it's this seesaw that we make progress this way. We get a little bit of gain, and then people say, I'm not too sure about that. And so we self-correct a little bit. And so one of the things I tell people that are concerned about the world we're in right now is, I see the backlash as proof that we're making progress. If you look back 100 years and look at where we are now, this is something to be thankful for. We are making progress. We still have a long way to go, but there's a lot of things that we have done. There's a Bruce Lee quote, don't pray for an easy life. Pray instead for the strength to endure a difficult one. And I think that's in a way what I'm talking about. Another one is pain. Now, you know, the patients in the hospital, my mother, we all have physical and emotional pain from time to time, and it can be something that's hard to feel grateful for, right? If you have a toothache that's like swelling your mouth up, right? But pain, whether it's physical or emotional, causes us to move, to do something, to fix something. Or see a doctor, change position, do something in our lives to decrease the pain. And usually that's a positive step. Being pained, feeling pain over poverty and homelessness and genocide and treatment of Native Americans and black people of color can make us better citizens, because it makes us, instead of when we feel the pain, doing something about it, caring more, taking steps to do something and take action. Making mistakes. Who wants to make a mistake, right? You can do 99 things right in a day, and what is the one thing you're going to remember at the end of the day? That one mistake you made, right? We hold on to that, and that's only natural. But again, mistakes are setups for success. Failures are a setup for success. So they can teach us something if we will sit and ask, what is it that you're trying to teach me? What is it that I should learn right now? And thank you for the opportunity to learn that. I think perhaps the biggest problem is people that we consider enemies. The biggest challenge to feel grateful for. But they are an opportunity to learn tolerance, patience, kindness, an opportunity to expand our compassion to others. A lot of times, in an interaction that's in conflict, I've learned I'm also partly responsible for the conflict, right? So I learned something about how I can be a better person and prevent that in the future. The Dalai Lama said, we should value our enemies because they provide us with unique opportunities to practice patience, tolerance, and forbearance. And in addition, one of my favorite people to quote is Kahlil Gibran. I have learned silence from the talkative, toleration from the intolerant, and kindness from the unkind, yet strange, I am ungrateful to all those teachers. I think maybe a year and a half ago, I came down here and I told a story about a woman in my life, Margaret. We were working in a hospital and neither one of us wanted to let go of being right. And so we lost the opportunity to build a new department for our hospital. We lost the opportunity to have a promotion for ourselves and do something really good for patients because neither one of us wanted to let go of being right. We both felt like it needed to be our way or the highway, right? One of you said to me in the lunchroom or afterwards, Margaret was your greatest teacher. And that's right. She was. These people can be our greatest teachers, not only to how we respond, but how we don't want to respond. So gratefulness doesn't mean being okay with what isn't okay, about what's not working. It's about cultivating a life of gratitude that is fuller than just the things that are easy to be grateful for, but being grateful for all of the opportunities that you have in a life. I think a grateful person asks, where can I find opportunities to grow, to learn, to love deeper, even in the darkest moments? And once the darkest moment is past, how can I keep cultivating that sense of a grateful heart? So I think it's hard for us because we don't like to be vulnerable, because we have this sort of negativity streak to us. Our ancestors, cave people, had to do two things. They had to avoid sticks and find carrots, right? And that was what they had to do to survive. And over time, both of them were important, but the sticks were way important to avoid because you could lose a carrot and live another day to find a carrot the next day. But if you didn't avoid a stick, there would be no more carrots. There would be no more days. So our brains are wired to avoid negativity, to run from it. It's like Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive experiences. I've heard that said. It is something we have to try and work hard to do. And I think comparing ourselves to others is also something that makes it hard because media will tell us all kinds of things that are going right with other people, the successes and the beautiful bodies and the rich people, and it's really hard to be grateful for my adversity when I'm surrounded by stories of people that don't have adversity. So that is making it a challenge. And then I think sometimes it's about being busy that makes it difficult. We're busy, so it takes time to reflect, to stop and think about what's going on in my life and ask the question about what can I learn from this. So if we're too busy, we're not stopping to think and reflect, we're not going to have that opportunity. We're not going to take that opportunity. So it's important to stop and not be so busy all the time. I think one of the things I'm talking about is reframing. So if you think about a bad situation, how can we reframe it in another way and look at it from another angle? And for me, journaling is one of the best ways to do that. I look back over my journals, and I've been keeping a journal since high school, actually. There's a lot of journals I have. Talk about downsizing, moving on, how do you get rid of those? I read back through them, and actually the times and the places where I'm journaling around things that are difficult for me, that I can see the most learning. That's the most introspective thing for me to go back and do. When everything's going right, my journal sounds like, roses and poppies. But it's when things are going wrong that I really see that I'm struggling to know who I am and become a different and better person. There's also a practice that I learned through possibility management where it says everybody feels 4 things at once: mad, sad, glad, and afraid. So it's a practice to try to figure out, what am I feeling? What is going on in my life? Sometimes it's easy to just see the glad things or to see the sad things, but to look at our lives as fuller than that. That at any given time, we've got lots of stuff going on. Lots of stuff that we can feel and know that that's our humanity happening in us. So I'm going to go back to the things that you thought of in the beginning that you had trouble feeling grateful for. Is anybody willing to share that and talk about maybe what might be learned in that? Maybe we could help each other too to do that. Okay.
Well, I guess my greatest challenge is being grateful for Donald Trump. And, but
I think you're alone there.
It brings to mind one of the lessons of one of my early teachers, Ken Keyes, who said, we see ourselves, other people are mirrors to us, and we see ourselves reflected in that person, and if it's something that we don't like, we can change it in ourselves. And that helps out.
Thank you. And you had something?
Well, it's going to be the same character. Really understanding that it is the opportunity to continuously demonstrate and activate the opposite, which is what I want to grow and embody and model.
Right.
And it's really evident that that is what is going on.
10 years ago, one of the things I was most concerned about was apathy in the community. People that were just not engaged. They were at the mall when they should be hearing about who they were electing and what was happening in our democracy. That is not true today.
That is true.
And that's a good thing.
Yes.
About 4 years ago, I started looking at the state of affairs of the earth and all the happenings of like things like war or whatever, and I got really scared, and I wound up spending a week at a friend's house due to being so scared that I didn't want to go home. And when I finally got home, I started to just sit down and meditate and pray every day, and then by the end of the summer, I wound up going for almost 4 months into a meditation hall just to meditate every day, and I said, I'm not leaving this until my fear is gone. No matter if it happened or not, I was going to deal with it. And I learned a lot about who I was and how to get rid of my fear through that. And I mean, that was a really powerful happening in my life, that I actually sat in the meditation in silence for almost 4 months doing that. And I wasn't going to leave until I was okay.
And you're stronger.
Oh,
today.
God, yes.
Yes.
Well, of course, I have practiced doing this, but Donald Trump, what did Donald Trump do for me? so it is, we are in a scary time historically, because of the rise of nationalism. That's the one time you told the truth. It really was. But really, I find it in activism, conflict, always to go talk to the people, talk to the enemy, go talk to them. And you'll find that there's a human being on the other side.
Yes. And today there is an unprecedented amount of that work being done in civil conversation projects all across the country. So thank you for that work. Oh, okay. We need to close. I'm sorry. But keep the learning happening, okay? I'm sorry. I do want to close with one poem that's a Wendell Berry poem that I want to offer called Our Work, Our Real Work. It may be that when we no longer know what to do, we have come to our real work. And that when we no longer know which way to go, we have come to our real journey. The mind that is not baffled is not employed. And the impeded stream is the one that sings. So, thank you for having me back again.